It is time. It's time to stop hiding. It's time to stand up. It's time for Christians to come together and share their testimony, inspire hope, and to join their brothers and sisters while we answer the call. Folks, it's time. It's time to wake up the lions. And we have a lion with us today, the author of the book and the founder of the movement with the same name, Wake Up Jesus People, ministry leader and also founder of the 40 Forge Challenge. Please welcome Jason Heinritz to the show today. Jason, how are you doing today, brother?
Doing great, Rory. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you being on today. I really do. I know you've got quite a story and quite a movement you're working on. So let's get rolling. Tell everybody here, who is Jason Heinritz? What are you about? What brings you here today?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm all about Jesus, and that hasn't always been the case. But I'm a husband. I'm a father of two young boys. We live up here in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and I've been in direct sales as a business leader and Hall of Fame sales guy for 21 years, building my own kingdom for a while. And God's been working on me, and to finally, say in the last 5 years, help me focus and change that focus to building His kingdom.
Nice, nice. Now, no, that was something that stood out to me in your story was you actually said that you've put yourself through a demotion as far as what the world sees, but a
Yeah.
promotion in terms of what God sees.
Mm.
How has that worked? What caused that? Where's that? Where was that leading you?
Yeah, Rory, there's been so much peace and joy since making that choice. I'd say so. I'm in direct sales. I sell Cutco, the
Oh
Cutco
yeah,
knives, and so I'm a
sure.
manager for them for a lot of Wisconsin. Been doing it for about 21 years. I love it, and it was addicting, and it was all about building my worth and my ego with all these accolades and bonus checks and climbing that ladder. And so I moved up pretty quick from a top sales rep throughout college, and then opened up my own office, did that, and I did really well. And then in 2019, I got promoted to be a division manager, which is overseeing not just my office, but many other offices and trying to put out other offices and develop students to go and do that. It was awesome, but very stressful. Also, COVID happened. Also, I had two kids. So it was just after these 6 years, this 5 years or so, it was just, man, this is really stressful. I am losing my peace and joy. I'm grinding this out, and I'm taken away from my family and ministry and focused on building my income, my wealth, my ego, my platform. But I have this really nice title of division manager, which it's a great position. But after 5 years at my position, if I'm not getting it, I need to understand, all right, God's blocking me from that, or I'm not the leader that's ready for that position yet. So I told my manager that year before, of a demotion, saying, hey, this might be my last year. Not sure if it's my last year of the company or last year in this role, but just so you know, here's what I'm thinking. He's like, all right, we'll see. And he kind of made it easy for me a year later and just demoted me,
Uh,
which was great because I kind of chose it and wanted it. And since that, Rory, I've been so free and just in my role and more of the flexibility and less of the worry and less of the responsibility. It's been really, really great for my soul and for my Jesus journey as well.
Now I know something about direct sales. I've been in sales myself. I
Mhm,
mean, up until doing this full time for decades. So
mhm.
I get it. I'm hearing this in my head, going, "Yeah, I understand exactly where this guy's at." Um, the when you take a voluntary demotion like that, it is more of a. I think it's you're saving a bunch of time above and beyond all sorts of other things. Isn't that right? Especially with a job like that.
Yeah, for sure. It's a ton of time, it's a ton of responsibility, it's a ton of stress and pressure,
Uh,
and it just wasn't fun anymore. And it also comes with a lot of expectations, and it is a pay raise, but if you're doing the right things for that. And so when I'm a below average division manager who's just banging my head up against the wall, trying to move and move forward, and it's not happening after 5 years, I just need to know, all right, God, you're closing that door. I need to listen to you. And whether it's I get better with my leadership and my faith and my skills and then come back, or maybe it's, hey, you're spending way too much time on that. You have this awesome, amazing, flexible position where you can just still focus on the ministry and family and still live a very great and blessed life in this demotion.
sure. No, I understand that completely. Now, the company, were they open to this conversation with you in terms of, hey, it's a planned demotion because of what's going on with me? Because, the company's
Mhm.
in that rough spot, right?
Yep.
They
Mhm.
don't want to lose you because you're doing a
Right.
great job.
Right.
By the same
Yep.
token, it's what's best for you and them. So, how open were they to the conversation?
Mhm. Yeah. So in company wise, company was fine with it. They were great with it. My managers were amazing with it. But my peers, they didn't say anything, but there were a lot of questions. They didn't haze me or anything, but there definitely were questions. And even from people below me trying to get up to that position, there for sure were questions. I could tell there were some concerns of, well, why? Or like, wait, what do you mean you're open to taking a step down? So company wise and leadership wise, they were totally cool with it. Mm-hmm.
Nice. Glad to hear that. Very often that's not the case. So I'm glad that you were fortunate enough to have that situation. Now, when you
Yeah.
were having these conversations, making these decisions, with yourself and your family, what was the role that faith played in this, if
Mm-hmm.
any?
Yeah, it played everything fully because again, the stress and pressure, Rory, of trying to build my own kingdom and trying to get that next level and get number one status in the company or really build it to where I want. It was all for my ego and for my accolades and my self-worth. A lot of my reason for that, my goals and dreams in the company were for my own selfish desires. And it was getting in the way of my faith and being a great husband and a great father. I was still pretty good, but for sure it was taken away from that. And I claimed God was my priority. I really did. And I believe that, and I still believe this is my mission field. It's where God has me. Where else can I influence 100 to 200 people in my own office every year? And then even as a company wide standpoint, how can I, what a great opportunity to have that ripple and that light from me and other Christians in the company. But it really, yeah, it was really tough decision, but for sure, faith was the big thing because I found more joy and more pleasure or like long lasting happiness in doing almost the same thing, which is funny enough with church. And my wife and I took over our young adults ministry a year and a half ago. Such a blessing. And going into it, I saw things happening. I saw some transitioning happen in church, and they were almost considering like, do we keep it going or not? I'm like, there's like 15 to 20 young adults that are great. I'm like, what do you know? I've been working with young adults for 20 years. And I told my wife, I think we need to take this on. I don't want to. I don't want extra stuff on my plate. I like convenience, probably something I'm working on or God's working on with me. I want to be a little, I don't like things that are too inconvenient, but yet I love the challenges and the struggle and the overcoming obstacles. But I thought, okay, there's a new thing. We can work on this together. I've led life groups. I've done things in the church. It's been awesome. But now to be able to like put more of my time and focus on that has been such a blessing and helped our relationship better. And then now just using my skills and also my wife who's very talented as well to be able to build that thing from 15-ish when we took it over, young adults, to now over 60 and having, well over 100 people come through, seeing that growth in the people and seeing them grow. It's been so cool. So it's funny how God works because I didn't want to take it right away, but now getting demoted, it freed me up some time and energy to now add that to my plate along with other things too. But that's one of the big add-ons.
Sure. That's amazing. I'm so glad to hear that. And yes, he absolutely works in very different ways.
Yeah.
You never know what's coming. I am curious, when I'm listening to your story, I hear that there's, a gradual,
Yep.
increase of stress and whatnot and, decrease of time. And I get all that. Was it just a gradual wearing down that sort of led to you realizing you needed to make this change and that you wanted to spend more time? Or was there an event or something that kind of like slapped you and said, hey, wake up, people?
Yeah. Well, if we want to start back further in my story, there was a big wake up call.
Okay.
But over the last probably 6 years, it was gradual. So when I take it back to even further back in my story, I was raised as a Christian, very blessed in a Christian home, but it was really my parents' faith. And I got baptized when I was like 13. I knew what I was doing, but I wasn't truly like for my life
Sure.
and my choice. It was what we were supposed to do. And so I went through high school, went to college, and once college hit, it was for sure 1 foot in the world, 1 foot out. and still trying to go to church, still claiming God is my not even a priority, just starting to believe in Him without actually practicing anything. And then in my 20s, partying a ton, just not good. And I met a girl who claimed to kind of love God, but not really show it. And then I was claiming to love God, but also like kind of being a little loose on my morals and who I want to be. And so she ended up moving in. I was living with 3 non-Christian roommates at the time. Talk about a recipe for disaster. And then they talked me in, including her, because we were having so much fun partying together all the time. She's always over. Said, why doesn't she just move in? So within 6 months, we got engaged. And then the wedding was coming up in September of 2012. And Rory, there was a big wake-up call where it got to be a couple months beforehand. And I was going through premarital counseling with her. I was trying to get her into church more. I was realizing, hey, I've been pretending to be someone for you. Sounds like you've been trying to pretend to be someone for me, but really we are on two different paths. And we're having a lot of fun together. A lot of pleasure is happening here, but this is not long lasting. I told her, and this is really, really tough, really, really tough, but got to be 2 months before the wedding. And I just told her this isn't going to work. And I'd much rather delay the wedding. I didn't say no to her fully. I just said, we really need to not get married right away. I'd rather delay the wedding than call off a marriage, which I see that happening if we don't make changes. And you're not changing. I don't know how much I'm going to change. We're who we are. This is not going to be okay. So yeah, I called it off 2 months before. And that was a big wake-up call for sure. That fall of 2012 was huge for me. And so my roommates moved out to go because they thought the house was going to be gone because we were moving out. So they moved out. My ex then got the apartment that we were going to move into. So I'm in this house just going, hey, I have to figure things out because there's no house here in a few weeks. And I was depressed. I was getting high most nights. I was just working my butt off and then medicating myself at night. And then I ended up staying with a guy from church, a 55-year-old divorced guy, lived 30 minutes south of where I was at. I'm like, dude, can I live? It was like a week before I had to move out. So thank goodness he said yes. That was 6 months of like rehoning myself and God working on me, Rory, where it was, I read the Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod, which was huge. I went to a Tony Robbins event, which was a big awakening too, of like self-empowerment. And then I really dove back into church. I didn't really have anything else to do. I wasn't going to go out downtown by myself anymore. So I already kind of cleansed myself from that relationship and those friends. So that was a huge wake-up call. And then from there, it was for sure a gradual uptick every year of getting deeper in my faith, learning more, doing morning routines to get me to where I'm at now.
Nice. The reason I ask that is because there usually is something that kind of like slaps us in the head at least a little bit at some point. And I always wonder what that is when you make a change like that. But good for you. Congratulations. Love that. And definitely God working through you.
Yeah.
The path that you're on now, you've written this book, you've started this movement. Tell everybody about, Wake Up Jesus People. As I was looking at this, first question I had, and then of course, go ahead and tell them whatever you want,
Yeah.
is it, Wake Up Jesus People, or is it like Wake Up Jesus People?
Yep.
Like it kind of,
So
which one is it, or how's that work?
yeah. So to explain how kind of the formation of it, Rory, would be, so I, been practicing these morning routines, having Jesus a part of it, learning how to be a great Christian and a great Jesus person. But it's more of the ideals and the love and the worship and the prayer. But there wasn't really, that I found, like a morning routine or like some like Christian habits, or what does it look like to be a Jesus person on a daily basis. And so over the last decade, it's been God working on me, working on morning routines, evening routines, Sunday practices, pretty much everything biblical, but really like putting it in a package that's like, here's what it looks like. Sure, you accepted Christ, but now what? Life is tough, but how does it look to practice that on a daily basis? Like, how do I pray? Do I just meditate? Do I worship? Do I memorize verses? Like, what do I do? How does it look? So that was about, really, I'd say about 8 years, eight to 10 years of practicing and sharing it with people. and developing people. And I love personal growth, especially when it's connected to Jesus. But I started leading a discipleship group back in probably 2022, 2023. And it was through church, and it was called Wake Up Jesus Guys. And I thought, man, I want to share this with the world. I want to practice it. And so it was an 8-week discipleship group. And I was having guys go through it, and so much fruit from it, and just loved it. And one of my mentors at church, challenged me to start that discipleship group. And then it just seeing all the fruit, a couple of their friends challenged me to write the book that I've been talking about. And so it's, so did that. And then throughout this process, Rory, it's been a combo of, wake up as Jesus people. So just seeing, again, through my 20s and 30s, seeing these awesome people that are Sunday Christians, not really awake, not really alive, not really living this full out Jesus life that he designed for us. And it's just this superficial, coasting Christian, relationship. And there's not as much fruit from it. So seeing all that and seeing a lot of friends, a lot of great people I knew to go through that, I thought, how do I help them wake up, or at least put out what I feel God is putting in my heart? And so that's a big part of it, which I dive into the book a lot. But then also it's wake up. It's in the morning. There's nothing more important than starting your day with Jesus. That's the most important appointment of your day. I call it the sacred start because it is sacred. It is holy. It is set apart. It is so important to start your day the right way and to get started with these practices and with time with God. And your whole day is going to be better. Instead of rushing and stressing and saying you're going to get your Bible time in later, or saying a quick prayer on the way out the door, are you really making God a priority? And are you really proving it and showing it with your actions and your time? And so we can dive more into that, but that is, I think, the answer to your question.
That was a great answer to my question, actually. And, one thing I thought right from the moment you and I connected was that our movements are very much aligned, in terms of what we're trying to accomplish.
Yep.
And one thing we want is for people to literally wake up and say, hey, you don't have to apologize for who you are, lean into your faith. It makes you stronger, type of thing. So I love what you're doing. The book, as opposed to like the overall movement.
Yep.
The book itself, is this an educational? Is it instructional? Is it where you get into maybe the different pieces of the morning routine? Tell us what we can expect if someone wants to go buy the book.
Sure. So for the book, the subtitle is Life-Giving Disciplines to Awaken the Warrior Within.
Oh, nice.
And it is, again, about becoming a warrior. We are in this world that we're in right now. Like, this is not our home. This is our battleground. We are citizens of heaven. We're visiting for 100 years, and God has put us here for a reason at this time, at this crazy time in the world. And so it's time to get battle ready, get suited up. And so it really is a combo of disciplines and mentalities. And so we dive into a little bit more about being a courageous Jesus person, not living a lukewarm life, about keeping God a priority, and about disciplines like morning routines and like the sacred start and like a night routine, even a lunch afternoon reset in the busyness of life, and about fasting and about worshiping and about doing the challenges like the 40 Forge, and just really helping you grow and elevate to be a warrior in God's army, because we're in a real battle. It's a spiritual battle. And there's a lot of evil in the world. And if we're not aware of it and we're not preparing for it, the devil can just distract us or make us weak or scared. And it doesn't matter how much Bible we know. If we're not willing to really get out there, if we're not living that best life first, to then give everyone our like overflow, because we're filling ourselves up with God and what's important for us, instead of giving people our leftovers and the rest of us. So the book also encourages people to get out there, make disciples. And there's 29 chapters in it. So there's a lot in it. So it's instructional and empowering.
Nice. Okay. I'm going to come back to that in a second. You brought up the 40 Forge challenge.
Yeah.
So give everybody a little bit of an idea of what that is, so that you and I can talk about it further in context.
Yeah. So 40 Forge was birthed from, at the end of my discipleship group with these guys, I was giving them a 40-day faith fast, I called it. I didn't really like the term at all, but it basically was kind of a challenge, was fasting from some things and adding some things. And after going through these 8 weeks, it was all right, guys. This is not the end of it. This is just the kickstart to these 40 days of you growing and becoming the man God wants you to be and improving your identity. And it was just a 40-day challenge. I picked 40 because based on the studies, you look at, I mean, is it 21 days for my habit? Is it 66? Is it, what is it? But biblical 40 days really, 40 really matters. Some examples, there's dozens in the Bible, but Moses at Mount Sinai before receiving the 10 Commandments was 40 days. Israel wandering around in the wilderness, 40 years. The flood, 40 days and 40 nights. Jesus's temptation in the wilderness immediately after being baptized, 40 days. Goliath taunting the Israelites until David came and knocked him out, 40 days. Jesus being on earth after resurrecting till he went up to heaven was 40 days. So when you think about the 40 and the symbolism of it, each instance often marked a time of testing, preparation, or transition where God prepared his people for a new stage of his plan. So I broke down these 40 days into 4 phases. So it's the unbearable phase. First 10 days, it's horrible. Every day you resist doing this habit, this fast, this new challenge, whatever it is. Days 11 through 20, it's uncomfortable. It's not unbearable, it's still uncomfortable. And then days 21 through 30, where most people stop in habits, it's bearable. Okay, I can do this, but it's not ingrained yet into who you are as a person and your identity. And then days 31 through 40 is where you become unstoppable. And you don't even need to keep track of your habits anymore because they're just a part of who you are. It's just a part of what you do. So that's the symbolism and the reason for 40. The actual challenge going into it, if anyone's familiar with 75 hard, it's basically the Jesus version of that. I thought, if I heard people doing the 75 hard twice double workouts, one outside, all the things they were doing, I thought, if 1 million people can go through 75 hard, they don't have as much help or a coaching with it. It's just this random program that someone can do, and it's not biblical, or doesn't have Jesus in it. What can we do with a Jesus version of this? So I have 2 versions. There's 40 Forge Hard and 40 Forge Light. And what's interesting, Rory, is when I go through the 40 Forge Light, I feel like this is just what we should be doing as Jesus people. This just should be our life. So what is the 40 Forge Light? Unless, do you have any other questions before I go into
go
the
for it.
Okay.
You're doing great.
So 40 Forge Light. So it really is spending 60 minutes with a sacred start. 60 minutes in the morning doing your devotionals, reading the Bible. It is exercise. It is praying. It's affirmations from scripture, visualizing God-given dreams, and then journaling as well. And then it also includes picking a diet, any kind of diet. As Jesus people, we need to be healthy and energized. Doesn't matter how powerful a preacher someone is, or a great husband or father or worker they are if they're sick or dead, right?
Yeah.
So pick a diet. Maybe it's no sugar, maybe it's no ice cream, whatever it is. And then the abstaining from no alcohol, no porn, and no substances. So 3 things that have a lot of people really tied up that really, as a Jesus person, it's so easy to get entangled in that stuff. So for 40 days, that is the light version. The hard version, very similar, just a little bit more advanced. So it's the annual fast plus protein, which that's biblical, but also adding some protein because you should be working out and getting those muscles strong. Again, no alcohol, no substances, no porn. Added is no social media scrolling. It's not getting all tied into all that addiction. Wow. Exercise, but for at least 40 minutes, tying it into 40, reading at least 10 pages of the Bible daily, right? And 75 Hard, they talk about 10 pages of a personal growth book. So reading the Bible, 10 pages, again, pray, journal, the sacred start again in the morning, and then drinking a gallon of water daily. That's really healthy. I dive into it in the book. So drinking a lot of water, and then worship music only. So only listen to worship music in your ears. Nice. So those are those 2 versions.
Now, does it matter with the water if you process that through a coffee filter, or does it just need to be water?
So combo. Yeah, I do include, because mine is like 8 ounces of hot water and I add some coffee mixed into it, or like I put a few glasses of water in my smoothie each morning. So yes, that does count. And this isn't like a black and white. I'm not very legalistic about it. It's like, hey, here's what to do. I'm going to challenge you to do it for 40 days. You can join one of the 6 times a year. We're going through this as a group. However, it's really up to you. It's not like the 75 hard work. If you miss a day, you have to restart over. It's
Yeah.
just a goal of giving yourself grace and becoming better each day. And I think a lot of Christians, a lot of times they're too tough on themselves. They don't give themselves grace, and they forget that they are enough, they are loved, and sure, they mess up. We all do, but forgive yourself and move on, learn from it. And so that's where it's not if you miss a day, you have to restart. But the drink a gallon of water, Rory, really is, it's healthy to have about 3/4 of your body weight in ounces, but that doesn't look as cool as drinking a gallon daily. It really depends on the person and their weight.
No, I like it. You're attacking mind, body, and soul,
Yep.
through this whole thing, which
Yep.
is absolutely wonderful.
Yep.
And I love the idea behind it. It's you're acknowledging the spiritual warfare that's out there,
Mm-hmm.
and you're saying this is to prepare you for that. So it's a whole different type of discipleship. You're not just bringing people in and saying this is what you need to work on the inside, but you're saying this is
Mm-hmm.
what's going to prepare you for what you're going to go through, trying
Yep.
to walk on this path, which I think is very sorely needed. I love that. Absolutely love it. Um, the Now you're going through this, okay,
Yep.
and you have your wake up moment. You've had a good faith base. You're getting back into it. You go through some grind. I totally
Mm-hmm.
understand, right? Job, time, kids, COVID, all the stuff that hits us. But what makes you just wake up one day and go, you know what? I need to write a book.
Yep.
Like I need to put all this down. I'm guessing you were called to do this in some way, and how did that go? Tell us about that.
Yeah. I actually wrote a book prior in 2018 called
Okay.
Conquer the Post-College Passion Slump. And really, I went through a self-publishing school. It was great, learned how to write a book. It wasn't anything special. People are still apparently reading it, leaving reviews, but don't think it's that special. But it really was a lot of things I learned growing up through direct sales and learning about personal growth. And I'm in charge of my own destiny kind of thing, where the more I learn, the more I earn, all of that. And I just saw a lot of young people transitioning from college to the real world, not having any really like real life skills. So it really was for me just to get it out there because it was a dream of mine to write a book. And then it was really just an expensive business card, really, that I could give out and give myself a better ego and say, oh, I wrote a book. So that was the reason for the first book, Rory. But since I already did that, I can see how it's a setup for God to use it for this one. But so I wrote it. I knew I could do it, and I knew I love God. Just put on me where I love inspiring people. I love seeing change. I love seeing them grow and discipling people. And so throughout the practice of morning routines and evening routines and diving into church, I'm just like, man, the closer I get to Jesus, the more happy and fulfilled I am, and the more I get towards following what the world says, the more stressed and filled with anxiety and worry that I'm filled with. So I thought about this. I thought, gosh, I got to write this. I got to do this. And so it took a couple years of just writing things down, doing Bible studies, doing Bible app studies, and just gathering all this information. Going, I think I could do this. And then it was just one of my buddies from church. As I was sharing it with him, he said, "Well, you should totally do this." And he challenged me to do it. And I decided in 2024 to start writing. Each year, I like to have a new challenge of like what I'm all about this year. And so in 2024, it was writing this book and getting it out there. I just had a couple years prior to that where it was on my heart. It was in my mind. I just thought, gosh, I feel like I need to write this. And I don't know if originally it was for my own selfish desire or God pulling on me. I can see it was probably a combo of both but I started writing every day, waking up at 4:30 a.m., 30 minutes earlier than normal to write. Otherwise, I wouldn't get it done.
Right.
And then did that throughout 2024 and then sent it to the editors and all that. And it's been a process. So it's finally going to launch here mid 2025. But it was just not having regret or wanting regret and knowing like a lot of things I'm sharing, especially teaching young adults and leading the young adults ministry. There's so much that comes into it that man, I wish I had more time with you. I wish we could do more than a 15-minute sermon with you of my wife or I speaking and us discussing it. Like, how can we just give you like a manual? And the Bible is pretty intimidating and confusing. Let's be
Yeah.
honest. So how can you really get, almost like, hey, you accepted Christ or you're diving back in? Cool. Here is, start reading this. Here's your manual. Nothing better than the Bible, but to help you understand kind of how to work through this, I just see it. God using me to, as young Jesus people, newer Jesus people, sleepwalking Jesus people who need a wake up call to go, okay, what do I need to really jumpstart and ignite me to live this life that I see Jesus people living? I hear about it, but I'm more surrounded by maybe some Sunday Christian, maybe hypocritical, maybe of the world type people. How do I get to that next step? So that's what really inspired me was I would say God kind of nagging at me a little bit, saying, come on, I've set you up for this. Let's go.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
No, I love that.
Yeah.
You bring up the young people
Yeah.
quite a bit, and I love that you're working with those folks. You've mentioned, youth ministry and things like this. Um, the One of the things that I have seen especially through my sons who are in that 20-something age range, absolute lions of God, is that there is this very strong group of young lions that are out there, and they're not taking any prisoners, and they're not apologetic, and they're going, listen, this is what I believe, and I don't care who I tell. Are you seeing that where you are? Okay, we're in different areas, obviously.
Mhm.
Are you seeing that? If you are, um, if you're not, let me know. But if you are, what are you doing to foster that, and what can other people do to help foster that growth?
Yeah, I for sure see it. I think we're seeing it nationwide. There's this uproar, there's this revival of young people. I think they're sick of seeing, quite honestly, their parents, some older generations go through oh, we go to church, so this is what we're supposed to do. I can't really tell you why or why Jesus is important to me or like why I can't actually prove it to you with my actions that he is my number one priority, but we'll go to church and we'll say it's important, but we won't really actually practice it as much.
Yeah.
So I think they're seeing that. And there's this awakening of spirituality of there is something more. The more the more we're diving into the world, the more we see evil, the more chaos, the more confusion. Like, what's really going on here? They can't put their trust, I think, in a lot of things of the world anymore. So they're searching for more, and I think a lot of them have, maybe tried the drugs and the partying, and they're just like that just isn't it. I think they're catching on a little quicker than people from the 60s and 70s, maybe, but they're like, I need something different. So I am seeing an awakening. I am seeing people come in that are just on fire and they're searching. We just had my wife and I lead sometimes a class called Discover Us at Church, where it's people who are new, who are like, I want to learn more about the church. What's this church all about? And how can I dive in more? And there were a couple guys. One was, I think, 31. The other one was 29. And just to see them be invited from a guy at Young Adults who works out at the gym, saying, just having a conversation with them, inviting them to church, and then being that very next week in Discover Us with my wife and I, to now they're leading, and not leading, but they're serving, they're involved in a bunch of men's groups. You can see like they already were great guys, but seeing them just their energy and their light, and they're like super pumped and excited and seeing what God's doing and getting around that community is really huge. So to foster that is helping people get involved. When you just come back and forth to church, it's very easy to feel lonely and say, oh, this church is too big. I'm not really meeting anybody. Well, how many groups have you joined? Where are you serving? Because serving makes the church smaller as opposed to this large church or all these people. And so you can serve with these people and you're giving back. You're being, Jesus with skin on and serving. And then to create this community of new people that can help you go through these struggles and go through this identity shift as you're cleansing away some old friends and then diving into some new friends. That's what we try to do, my wife and I at Young Adults, is we want to connect them. We really feel like, sure, God wants to speak through us in a message, but it's more about them getting together and discussing it and getting real with some questions and We love getting real. We love getting vulnerable. We love helping it be an open space for everyone to share and realize we're all broken. We're all doing our best. We're all relying on Jesus. We all have questions, but how can I get support and love? Because they're not getting that with their friends at the bar. They're probably not getting that for a lot of them, unfortunately, at home. And they're confused. And so when they get that and they come into church and in a community that's like them, it's just refreshing. You can see them light up. So my goal is to try to connect people with others at that, at church or at young adults, and then help them get connected with the other little pockets of people that are like them. And that way they can connect and get real, create those relationships, because the devil wants us isolated. He
Right.
wants to, he wants to get us off by ourselves so he can attack. So there's power in numbers. And when you're at church a bunch, you're surrounded by Jesus people a ton, it's going to be much easier to live out your faith and not stumble when you're feeling weak or lonely. So that's at least what I see us trying to accomplish.
Nice. Love that. The one thing that I have been a proponent of, on this show especially, but even before that, on my other programs, the because we do have this swell of young lions that are coming up,
Mm-hmm.
and they are all ready.
Yeah.
The one thing they don't seem to have is leadership.
Mm-hmm.
They don't seem to have any of the older lions
Yep.
um, going through the wall first
Yeah.
to show them the way and to kind of lead. Is that a role that you feel like you fall into? And how can we get other older lions saying, "Hey, I need
Mm-hmm.
to help lead these young lions to where they're supposed to go"?
Yeah. The phrase I'll say is you can't lead where you won't go. You
Mm,
can't teach what you don't know. And I see a lot of young, hungry lions, and even some would say, hold up. There's a couple that have come through young adults that they're like, I want to serve. I want to be a preacher someday. And we're like, you just accepted Christ 2 weeks ago. Let's just get you to like read the Bible once. Okay. So it is exciting, but I think in this time, as more, I guess, uh, older lions here, I think we need to encourage the younger generation while also being real with them, helping them mature in their faith, helping them cleanse themselves of some of these sins and some of these things that hold them back, because the devil's just going to attack even harder. It's not like you accept Christ, you dive in, all of a sudden life is all sunshine and rainbows. It actually gets tougher because you're boldly and openly saying, I'm different. I'm set apart. I'm not of the world anymore. I'm trying to live more like Jesus. So the more I think we can withstand all the temptations and the holdups that a lot of people have, the better. And if someone's struggling with porn, alcohol, substances, if they're not reading their Bible every day, if they're not praying every day, if Jesus is clearly not a priority to them and who they're living for, well, then I don't think they should be leading. I think could God still use them? 100%. But we have to do everything we can. We need to wake up, right? We need to wake up and be that light for others and lead by example. So
yeah.
I think, something, if someone's listening, they're thinking, I want to be that, more of a mature lion. I'd say, well, if everyone you were discipling was exactly like you and doing those exact habits and having those exact, choices, would you be leading them on the right path? And again, we're also going to make mistakes. We're also going to sin, but it's like, are you on that path towards being more like Jesus and less like yourself? And if yeah, great. Because if you haven't overcome something, you need to wait. You have to overcome that addiction or that sin, because our best way to disciple is to your former self,
Mm,
right? So like who you used to be is exactly who God has made you to disciple to, because you know exactly what they're going through.
yeah.
Right? With the phrase is God uses people who have gone through something to help those who are going through something. Right. So it's like, I think the more we can develop, the more God's going to empower us to go, I know exactly where you were at. Oh man, I used to struggle with porn too. I used to struggle with partying too. Let me share with you what helped me.
Yeah. Great answer. Absolutely love that. Now you are taking your discipleship to a whole new level, and you're involved in church planting. And
Yeah.
so I mean, do you mind sharing
Yeah,
your
sure,
next
for sure.
mission? Like, because we got on the phone today and you're like, I'm on my way somewhere else, which I
Yeah.
think is fantastic. Just give everybody an idea of what's next for Jason.
Yeah, sure. So we're being called to help plant another church. I'm not into church planting, and it's not like something I do on the side for fun. But we've been here in Green Bay at this church for 10 years. It's been amazing, and our pastors are feeling called to open up 5 new churches in the next 10 years. And Seattle is their first city that they are attacking. And so 3 years ago, there was some talk about this may happen. Hey, and there was like a handful of us couples that raised their hand of like, I think we're open to it. We think God's calling us to that, but we don't know. And then there was there's crickets for like a year as the pastors were kind of getting, turned down and no doors opening. And just about 4 months ago, they said, we got a lease, we got a place. And my wife and I were both like, okay, so we're really doing this, huh? This is pretty crazy. And I actually thought, all right, God, this is like a, just testing us to see if we were going to do it or not. And we were, so you trust us now. But no, he's calling us out there. So we sold our house. We're moving out there in like 6 weeks. Haven't found a place out there yet, so we're praying for that. But yeah, it's a new journey. It's a new adventure. We feel very blessed here. We feel like we have a great life here. It does stink to leave. We didn't think we'd ever leave Wisconsin. We're both born and raised here. But when God's calling us, it's like, how can we not? We read all about it in the Bible, all these tests of faith, of almost sacrificing your son, or going
Yep.
against Goliath, or going against armies, like literally life or death situations, and we can't move 20 hours west to go help in a city that really needs it. Like, who do we think we are? And so we could live a very comfortable life here, but in order for us to grow and to really have faith in this, it's really been a cool journey. But also, we feel God's calling us to it to up level us to go through it. But yeah, we're very excited. It's going to be a Life Church Northwest. It's going to be a Northwest University's campus, and that's going to be fun. It's going to be great. It's up in Kirkland, Washington, so we're really excited about that to help our pastors and help them out and see. Again, we don't know. We're just open-handed going, all right, God, what the heck is next? We don't know if it's going to be a year or forever. We don't know if that's going to be the main stop and we come back here, or if we go to another city. No idea. We're literally going, all right, God. And then a funny thing with my job, to bring that back, is if I wasn't demoted and I stayed in my same role, I wouldn't have been able to move. But now, because I got demoted and I've proven myself as a virtual manager mainly, nothing really changes. I can still run Wisconsin from out there. And so that's been, again, looking back, and my wife and I leading young adults and growing together in ministry. We're both kind of workaholics. So being in our own lane has been a struggle of ours. So that we can be together working on a goal and a
Yeah.
mission has been really cool to see that. So just looking at all the steps, Rory, that led us to this point over the last couple of years, when we first said, yeah, we're scared, we're interested in moving across the country. And then God going, okay, I see your faith. Now we got to prep you for it. And
Nice.
now 2 years of that to now where we're at now it's still scary. It's still scary. It's probably 10% scared, 90% excited and expectant, but that's where we are at right now.
Right. Well, like we said before, God doesn't call the equipped; He equips the called. So,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to be taken care of. You just
Yeah.
gotta go take that jump. I absolutely, admire what you're doing, and I think it's fantastic. I usually talk to people about, especially individuals who come on the program or who I've interviewed and haven't been on yet, about spreading discipleship by, boldly telling 10 people about your faith, about your story, that type of thing. You are not only doing that, I mean, you're doing it, 10x
Mm-hmm.
with, growing a whole new church and everything else. Let me, kind of wrap things up here. It's been a fantastic story. You've got a great program. Let me wrap things up here by saying, what advice can you give as someone who is a practicing lion, who is someone
Mm-hmm.
who's out spreading discipleship and has gone through your own story? What advice can you give to folks who really do want to wake up and become Jesus people? They want to wake up and become lions, but maybe they're just a little afraid. I mean, the world obviously, spiritual warfare is real, and you and I both know that. People are feeling that, even if they don't know what they're feeling. So, what can you give as maybe advice to these folks to say, hey, try this, or this can help
Mhm.
in their path to become lions?
Sure. I have a couple answers to that. One would
Yeah.
be that it is a journey. Wherever you're at, God can use you. Wherever you're at, whatever you're struggling with, overcome it with Jesus, and then share His story through your story, and being able to just use your story to help others is great. Doesn't need to be anything special. You don't have to have the whole Bible memorized. You don't have to be ready with a big speech. It just could be as easy as just inviting someone to church. Most people don't attend church because they're not invited.
Hmm.
So might as well invite someone. And when you have this great thing to offer, and why, like, if you were in an island, right, deserted island, you found a big resort in the other end, why won't you tell everyone about it? So it doesn't have to be up in their face. I would say be careful. Where it doesn't need to be controversial. It doesn't need to be hate. It doesn't need to be you're going to hell if you don't repent. It can just be, hey, I love you. I love Jesus. I think you should at least check out. Like it happens through relationship. So you were saying, Rory, with those 10 people, those 10, who are the 10 closest people to you? We know eternity is going to be a long time. The 100 years on earth is not a long time. So are you going to think in eternity, what if those 10 aren't here because of me? Or what if they are here because of me? I just think, you're scared of being rejected. You're scared of being judged, all the normal things we think of that makes us resist saying something. But the worst thing they're going to say is no thanks. You don't have to, preach salvation to them right there. I think it is through relationship. It is a journey, and really you becoming the best person for them to see that change. So if you're messed up, if you're struggling right now, if you have your own, skeletons in the closet, things you're struggling with, they're going to see that change. It's even more of a chance for God to use you, and you just appoint. People are going to ask questions. What's different? Why are you so happy now? Why are you healthier now? Why are you so on fire? Why are these blessings just coming to you? And you should be able to point to Jesus and tell His story in your life and go, so man, I love you too much not to invite you to church. God's changing my life. Like you should just come check it out. You don't have to, you can say, I don't know all the details. I have questions too. I cannot answer everything in the Bible. All I know is what God has done in my life. Are you open to checking it out too? So that's what I'd say is be the person that someone wants to follow and wants to follow on that path for that Jesus journey, and then just invite them. You have nothing to lose by asking.
Love that. Fantastic advice. And I expected nothing less. So I really do appreciate you throwing that out there at the end. The founder and the author of the movement and the book, Wake Up Jesus, people, creator of the 40 Forge Challenge, ministry leader, and just all around fantastic Christian and discipleship builder. Jason Heinritz, thank you so much, brother, for coming on today, spreading the word and helping us wake up the lions, man. You've been amazing.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
No, it's absolutely my pleasure. Folks, it's it's time. It's time to wake up the lions. But more than that, it's time for you to take your rightful place with your brothers and sisters and let them hear you roar. It is time for you to speak up. The world's ready. So are you. Believe it.